It's a tricky one. If we talk about characters, maybe some dialogues, even humor, which is the hard part, and it's applicable actually to different types of companies, not specifically game dev. We require context at all the steps of localization. So as for the game dev, we would need as much context as possible. If we translate in some jokes, we need to make sure that these jokes land properly into other languages and other cultures. And from what we've seen, sometimes it's better not to have a joke at all, just
Yeah.
instead of having like literal translation, because it might be offensive, insulting, or it's like not understandable. So in terms of understanding the context, our linguists need to have as much as information as possible, screenshots, maybe some plot twists that are connected to jokes, or some additional information, or whatever that we might have, style guides, brand voice, anything that like might be helpful in this case. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of critical stuff, and part for linguists to know.
Yeah, I like your point about how this is not the most, I guess, enjoyable point about meeting the joke, because it's always, I guess, developers would wanna to have this joke and this humorous effect, but it's also something that I encountered. I was doing research with our linguists on how to translate humor in games, and I actually encountered the same recommendations that sometimes, unfortunately, don't all not all jokes travel well. It also connects to the holiday campaigns. We had a case when a white Black Friday was renamed to White Friday in Turkey, because the Black Friday would be tone deaf in
Yeah.
Turkey. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So the context is always important. It also makes me think about how we are observing context, and we are observing trends, and this is something in the area of Nikita's specialty. So I guess in order to tap into these cultural moments, you want to tap into some trends, and
Mhm.
how does your process of trend watching usually looks like to make this resonating campaign?
Oh yeah, it's very interesting question because yeah, for yeah, we know yeah for that for each like not even country I can say, but like language zone, let's call it like this. Yeah, they are like. Always there always appear some new trends, yeah, some new like tricks, and of course some new memes, yeah, some new funny jokes and so on, yeah. And for example, when you like check TikTok, for example, when you check, for example, YouTube, Twitch, any platform, yeah, you always know who is the most popular person, like in the room, yeah, right there, who's trend setting, yeah, and focusing on these guys, for example, you know how to proceed, you know what is popular right now, and so on. Even for example, for speaking about gaming itself, yeah, it's always cool time when some big game or even yeah, let's say like this big game launch, yeah, and it's like trend itself because yeah, and it's trend itself when, for example, game launch for each region, for each market, yeah, and you know that when this game is big, yeah, for example, for AAA studios or something like this, yeah, there is always some marketing like campaigns, yeah, connected directly to the country, directly to the audience, yeah. For example, it can be different for Germany, it can be different from United States, it can be different for each even region and so on, yeah. For example, it's very cool. It's not speaking about trends, but like speaking about like an example. For example, you know, World of Warcraft and so on. Yeah, you know that they're like corpse, yeah, skeletons and so on, yeah, for World of Warcraft, non-playable characters, yeah, and so on, NPC, yeah. And for example, for China, as far as I know, yeah, all these characters is replaced, yeah, yeah, because yeah,
Mm.
in Chinese culture, there it is very like tricky moment when you show like bones, skeletons, and so on, and you can't show it. Yeah, and as far as I know, is for each game who launch in China, for example. Yeah, you need to deal with these skeletons, with these bones, and so on. Yeah, so yes, that's an example, just how it connected with like national approach and so on. Yeah, and speaking about the trends, yeah, you always know, you always see it because yeah, you're connected by like not like a professional, but like a person. Just yeah, you
Yeah.
scroll like TikTok, for example, you scroll Instagram Reels, and you see it. Yeah, for example, a couple of years ago, I think there was a big hype. For example, these skibidi toilets for tier one and so on.
Mm.
Yeah, and it was like some nonsense. Yeah, and yeah, even such trend can be connected with advertising, can be connected with advertising, for example, a specific game, and so on. Yeah, that's how it works.